at some very early data out here for post Phantom Nightmare. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So Goo Gaming ended up running a Iron Man event for post Phantom Nightmare. Now this data, it's a little bit a week and a half old at this point, and the first 3 place teams did not want to share their list. What I am going to be presenting to you here is what a lot of the competition played to kind of showcase some of the competitive side of this event and some of the ideas that could use refinement. But your overall event here, you had 7 Snake Eyes variants, you had 6 Fire King variants, 4 Rescue Ace decks, definitely high representation there. Voiceless kind of coming in that more niche category like I kind of expected it to. And then we had 2 Kashtira, and then for your Rogue, you had a Sword Soul. Crazy to see somebody actually play that. We had a Centurion as well, and we also have a Labyrinth duelist here as well. Like, this is actually kind of interesting to say the least. Let's pass on over to the deck list. Our first list we're going to be looking at here is the Goo Gaming Part 1 here. This is going to be standard Rescue Ace. You do see the inclusion of the Populace in here, which is pretty normal to actually see. I do see that we're playing a mini Shadal package in here as well. I actually kind of like that. That opens up some interesting little doors. You also do see some value with the Thrust and the Ghost Bells in the side deck. So this actually might be an interesting idea to kind of mess around, especially with some of this Shadal stuff that you're kind of seeing down here. You know, I don't know how consistent that doll idea actually is, but if you want to test around with something, you know, spicing up Rescue Ace, this might be it. Next up here for the Goo Gaming team, we have Fire Kings. You see the double Populace kind of moving on in here. Pretty normal stuff, I feel like. You also see the Thrust in the side deck. Thrust, a lot of these people chose to actually side the Thrust, which I don't think is necessarily a terrible idea. Triple Bonfire, going full Snake Eyes Ash, as you should be. The Amalgamation in here as well for the board wipe. And then you do see the cross out Designators in here as well. So a lot of these heavy-ended resources making their way into these side decks, which is not a bad thing, all right? Especially, you know, cross out, if you're running into a lot more of these mirrors and you're able to capitalize on that, that's good. And the last member of this team here, we actually have pure Snake Eyes here. Okay, so the triple Ash, of course you see Oak, you see the little rat thing in here with the double Poplar. Pretty normal stuff. You also have the Evenlies, and once again you see those crossouts down there in the side deck. I'm still actually very intrigued with that. I hope that as this format kind of develops, or, you know, we might see some crossout to try to cancel out a little bit of the craziness of the format, because some of these boards can get very, very toxic very quickly, and being able to, you know, cut your opponent off maybe on something, or stop a draw and Lockbird from resolving. Okay, so that's your Goo Gaming team. Now we shifted over here to Inspire TCG, and this is where you actually see your Labyrinth builds start to come up with a side of the ever so fun Unchained stuff. The fact that you just get away with playing the Unchained stuff as a mini engine in this deck helps things out so consistently. But we're not playing the Teferi mask in here, Luber's mask, something that we were kind of expecting to be an upcoming tech trend, but they chose not to play it, which I'm not saying is not necessarily the best or worst call. It just opens up the door for some consideration to, maybe we do need to play the mask. I don't know. It comes down to deck building preference, I feel it. Inspire member team 2 is Voiceless here. And talk about Diviner of the Herald just carrying you as hard as they can. I also see that this build chose to actually play a massive Lubellion package in here. That's not something that we've seen from hardly any build, I think, whatsoever. This is actually new, where you're able to use the Bysteel, Magna Hut, the Druis Worms, set up these relatively large monsters, and then Branded Regain just hard carries you through a lot of this. That's actually very interesting to consider. I hadn't thought about that. I wonder if this trend will come together. And our last list here is actually, oh my gosh, Engages. This is a Snake Eyes build with a Sky Striker base to it. We're playing a Kurikara in here as well. You play the Magician Souls to drop down the Diabellstar package, and then you use this to kind of toggle through a lot of the extra gas for this. This is actually very, very cool. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, you're playing Where Arf's Out in here. Wow, this actually is very interesting. I want to see more developments with this. That wraps up Inspired TCG here. Now we go to Interstellar here. Interstellar playing basic Fire King here. Nothing wrong with that, once again. I mean, you see the triple bonfire. Only one of the spell card that activates Fire King Island from the deck. We see a dramatic drop-off of that card post the format here, which, once again, nothing wrong with that. It's still good, but a lot of people just choose to kind of thin it out so you don't have to. We have the double soul release. You have the triple cross out down in the side deck as well. Once again, cross out being that hard carry here. And you see the double Promethean Princess, which a lot of people are predicting will be a very hard carryover here as well. So good stuff for this. Now our second member on Interstellar here. They're playing Volcanics in here as a splash package with the one Blaze Accelerator. So basically they're using the base of the Snake Eyes deck for consistency. Alright, all of the power that you kind of get with that deck lets you deck thin even further. Only 2 Volcanic Shells, kind of interesting. Once again, I want to see developments with a deck like this. I want to see what changes they're going to make here. I want to see if something like this actually will stick around in the future, if this was one of those one-offs that you look at and you're like, it's kind of cute, but, it doesn't stand up to the rest of the Fire format. And our last Interstellar player here is playing standard Snake Eyes. Holy crap, man, so many people love this deck. Triple Snake, the Triple Rat, the 1 Oak, pretty standard stuff, double Flamberge Dragon. We are playing one Subversion in here as well. I find that also kind of interesting. But let's call it what it is here. Being able to have the Subversion at your disposal to answer an immediate monster is always going to be pretty good. Side deck, we have Change of Heart and Snatch Steel. Holy crap, like they are covering their bases in here to make sure that they can win, I feel like, any game out here. And of course, we have some anti-spell fragrances down here as well. So that should wrap up to Team Interstellar. Now, Pop 1. Alright, you see Voiceless to start things off here, and actually main decking the triple Super Poly. This is what I would consider more of your standard build here. Just kind of keep in mind that when you're going through this, Super Poly is going to be your board breaker. We also have Ultimate Slayer in here as well, but we don't have Malong as like the little dump resource. I do see that we're doing some Odd Eyes plays. Okay. More access to the Dynamond. Okay, Soul Release maximized. We do have the one there, can only be one. This is actually pretty good. I like this a lot. And then our second member here is on Rescue Ace. The one Pobbler, triple Bonfire. I'm actually happy that this deck doesn't necessarily change all that much. It's nice to have a good, consistent back to the meta, where you're able just to maintain something easy. Also, Ghost Bells and the good stuff here. Outside of that, I mean, the Cosmics are kind of interesting. That's just an expected meta shift, honestly. Also, the fact that you also have Triple Solemn Judgment down here. Yeah, this build is just straight, 4 or 5 cards different from what we're currently already dealing with. That's good. And our last member of Team Pop 1 here is actually Kashtira. The Triple Shifter, the Triple Ash, you got the Double Bell, and you got the Double Droll. Tell me you haven't seen a more standard cleanup crew for a list. I'll wait. They don't actually exist. Yeah, this is the good stuff. Our next list here for the Team TPH. Okay. Nah, just kidding. We're still looking at Cash. I mean, Shifters and the rest of the crowd, yeah, I don't see anything else. The Double Book of Eclipse might be a little bit interesting, but I don't know. I think this is good. Cash still doing this thing. The G-Golem plays are very interesting. Now, our last team here, Centurion. Da-dun-da-dun. So, to be honest with you, King Calamity Turbo, still an excellent deck. All right, as many people as they want to try to steer away from this deck or think, hey, I don't know if this is necessarily going to stick around. You got Bonfire. You got your consistency upgrade. This is still a problematic deck that people don't really know how to handle. So continue to take advantage of this. As long as this deck goes first and it doesn't fall into like some weird hand trap, it should Calamity Lock the opponent about 80% of the time, and that's a lot. Our next member of TPH here is actually a Kashtira deck. So both of our Kashtira versions back here on the lower end of things. Nothing wrong with that per se. Still doing the triple shifter, triple, actually Mourner and triple bell, and the triple. Oh man, they were maximizing on the hand traps. Man, they did not want to deal with any of the craziness on here. I also see we're playing a different dimension ground here as well. That's kind of interesting. I hadn't really considered different dimension ground all that much, but it does make you kind of, I guess, question some of the meta. Like, I don't know, having access to a walking, talking macrocosmo is always going to be good. And our last teammate here is playing Sword Soul. Holy crap. They're actually playing the Yangzing package in here so that you can go ahead and paralyze your opponent with the counter trap card. Yeah, we've seen the idea of this. It hasn't really stuck around too much, to be honest with you. Sword Soul just feels incredibly fair right now. I know a lot of people are going to try and push this deck. A lot of people are going to try to have fun with it going into fire format, but you're going to have crows, you're going to have drolls, or things are going to get out of control very, very quickly for you. And that's a problem. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes, but that's what we're looking at right now. So, holy crap, that's a lot from Goo Gaming. Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.